curious, engaging. In the summer of 2017, Paris Saint-Germain paid €222 million to trigger the release clause of a single player, setting a transfer record that still stands as the most expensive in the sport's history. By late 2025, that same player had returned to Brazil, 33 years old, heavily tattooed, and serving as the veteran captain for a club fighting to stay in the first division. He is currently playing through a torn meniscus, a significant rupture of the knee cartilage. Despite medical warnings to stop and recover, he has remained on the pitch for every match. His boyhood club, Santos, only recently returned to the top flight, and they immediately found themselves in a grueling physical battle to avoid falling back into the second tier. This creates a confusing contradiction. A player who has accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars in career earnings is now risking permanent physical damage in the high-impact, often muddy matches of the Brazilian league. His stated focus is the 2026 World Cup. By staying in a competitive league through a series of tactical contract extensions, he is using these domestic matches to prove his body can still handle the physical demands of international football. This drive started here, in 2009. As a clean-shaven teenager at Santos, he was immediately burdened with the title of the next Pelé. He validated that hype in 2011 by leading Santos to the Copa Libertadores title. It was the club's first win in South America's premier club competition since the era of Pelé himself in the 1960s. His success in Brazil led to a 2013 transfer to Barcelona. There, he formed the MSN attacking line, a prolific partnership alongside Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez. In 2015, the trio secured a treble, winning the Domestic League, Spanish Cup, and Champions League. Neymar finished that year ranked as the third-best player in the world. His most significant individual performance came in 2017, during the match known as La Remontada. Trailing 4-0 in the first leg of a tie against PSG, he orchestrated 3 goals in the final 7 minutes to secure a 6-1 victory. Even after orchestrating that legendary performance, the most iconic image of the night featured Lionel Messi celebrating with the crowd. In the global media, Neymar remained the secondary star of the team. In order to win the Ballon d'Or and be recognized as the world's best, he believed he had to leave Spain. That 2017 victory against Paris Saint-Germain became the primary reason he decided to join them. The move to Paris was a gamble on his own legacy. He desperately wanted to be the focal point of a project that would deliver the club's first-ever Champions League trophy. Statistically, the gamble worked. A production rate of 197 goal involvements in 173 appearances led PSG to its first Champions League final. He also became one of only 5 players in history to score 100 goals for 3 different clubs. However, this era in Paris was also ultimately defined by his physical fragility. Recurring fractures in his right foot and multiple ankle surgeries meant that during the most important weeks of the European season, he was often in the training room rather than on the pitch. His public image began to shift. Media coverage focused less on his goals and more on his presence at Paris fashion shows and high-profile parties, leading to a disconnect with the local fans. In the summer of 2023, he signed a massive contract with Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia. Many analysts viewed the move as the end of his time in the competitive elite, a move away from the pressure of European football. His long quest for independence in Paris and the move to the Middle East left his European career feeling incomplete. He had achieved massive financial success, but he had yet to win the individual awards he left Barcelona to find. In early 2025, he terminated his deal in the Middle East and moved back to the Villa Belmiro, the same stadium where he first signed as a professional. He returned to a club struggling to survive. Santos was in a battle against relegation, meaning he was no longer playing for trophies, but for the club's basic existence in the first division. Despite playing on a damaged knee, his output remained high. This graph shows his performance peak during a critical match against Juventude, where a hat-trick earned him a near-perfect 9.7 match rating. That performance helped pull Santos away from the relegation zone and eventually secured them a place in the Copa Sudamericana, the secondary continental tournament in South America. Returning to Brazil has altered his reputation. The image of the pop star has been replaced by that of a veteran captain willing to risk his physical health for his boyhood team. On December 31, 2025, Santos announced a contract extension that keeps him at the club through December 2026. This timeline ensures he remains in a competitive environment through the duration of the next World Cup cycle. His focus is entirely on the summer of 2026. His place on the national team is contingent on his fitness, making this domestic campaign a prolonged test of his endurance. Statistically, he is already Brazil's most prolific attacker. This timeline shows him surpassing Pelé's 77 goals to become the nation's all-time top scorer with 79. But in the culture of Brazilian football, scoring records are secondary to the trophy itself. He is currently 33 years old and lacks the World Cup title that defined the legacies of Pelé, Romário, and Ronaldo. His career has been defined by record-breaking money and Parisian drama, but his final act is remarkably simple. He has returned home to play through the pain, hoping his body holds together long enough for one final attempt at a world title.